Daddy jumped his ass. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast. Today episode brought to you by Boss Shot Shells and the Boss Dove Load the Unmuzzled Beast. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the good, famous, world famous Andy Shaver.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
I'm here.
March 10th
Is today.
And my today on March 10th is, I think, one of the greatest inventions of all time. I would put it in top 10 inventions of all time.
What's that?
The telephone.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's up there.
And when you'd say, well, the iPhone or this or that, everything comes off of something else, but the phone had to be invented first. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's one of the greatest technological advancements in the world.
Sure.
Especially at that time. Anyways, on March 10th, Alexander Graham Bell transmits this sentence: "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." And that was the first time that there had ever been a phone call.
How far did he have to call?
Just downstairs to his other office.
Oh.
But that was the first call of that type ever in the world. So anyways, Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison were kind of in a big debacle about getting the telephone. By 1904, time they got the phone started, the first long-distance phone call was an 8-mile phone call, and it was from somewhere in upstate New York into Canada.
That's more impressive than
that
downstairs.
It took them, but downstairs you couldn't talk to nobody. And the first town that had phone calls in there, I'm gonna look at this little stuff I had here writing down, and of course I just deleted the damn thing again by accident. I've got to learn how to do this better. The first telephones were used in little towns in western New York. Is the first time they used these things. And the first town that had them only had 10 telephones, and 4 of the people worked for the phone company. And you could only use 2 telephones at the same time. And it took 6 cables for the phones to work. And that's basically how it took someone work all the time to do it. By 1904, there was 3 million phones were connected by manual switchboard exchanges in the U.S.
Wow.
By 1914, the U.S. was the world leader in telephone density and had more than twice the teledensity of Sweden, New Zealand, Switzerland, and Norway combined. The relative good performance of the U.S. occurred despite competing telephone networks not interconnecting. So what would happen is you'd have Alexander Bell telephone over here, and then you'd have Acme Telephone Company here, and then Jacobs Telephone over here. Well, they didn't work together. So eventually they all become Bell Telephone Company. And then our government thought it would be great to bust them up, and then everybody's phone prices went up, and so that was the end of the monopoly on telephones.
It wasn't a monopoly.
Well, it kind of was too.
It started a monopoly. Oh, no.
By they broke it up, it was a monopoly, and so that the government broke them up.
Everything became Bell.
But March 10th was the first telephone call was made by Alexander Graham Bell. So I thought it was a very important day in history.
Yeah.
My famous person that died on March 10th was a gentleman named Corey Haim. Do you know who Corey Haim was?
Yes.
Ham was born.
Movie guy in the 80s.
Yep, was born on December 23rd, 1971 in Toronto, Ontario. This is how it all started. He went with his sister to an audition. Ham was noticed and was offered a role as a child actor. He began performing in commercials in 1981. Later, he played the role of Larry the Canadian children's educational comedy television series, The Edison Twins. Ham made his feature film debut in 1984 thriller called Firstborn. My favorite thing that he was ever in was Lucas. Do you remember that show?
I've never seen it. I don't think I've seen a Corey Haim movie.
But Ham's breakout role came in 86 when he starred with Cary Green, Charlie Sheen, and Winona Ryder in the titular character in Lucas, the coming-of-age story about the first love and teen angst centers on an intelligent misfit who struggles for acceptance after falling in love for a cheerleader. Ham turned 14 on the set. That's when all his trouble started. That's when he got introduced to drugs. I think that Charlie Sheen might have taken advantage of him.
Yeah,
that's kind of the story is.
I heard he got raped.
And so, anyways, in 1987, Hamm had featured role as Sam Emerson, the younger of two brothers, a comic reading turned vampire hunter in The Lost Boys. Mm-hmm. Shot between Warner Brothers and the Santa Cruz Boardwalk, the young cast
I have seen part of that.
included Jason Patrick, Kiefer Sutherland, and Jamie Gertz. Jamie Gertz is a good-looking son of a gun, and she's the wealthiest woman in Hollywood. You know who she is?
Yes, I know Jamie Gertz. I'm trying to think. I know Kiefer Sutherland.
I don't know who. I've heard the name Jason Patrick. Anyways, the performance earned Hamm another Young Artist Award nomination as Best Young Male Superstar in a Motion Picture. The film marked his reoccurring on-screen partnership with Corey Feldman. The two younger actors had previously become aware of one another. Hamm auditioned for the role of Mouth on The Goonies, which Feldman secured. The two Coreys ascended to become the highest-paid teen stars of the 80s. Anyways, what happened with Corey Hamm was he was in a show called License to Drive, and he became addicted to drugs real bad. Hamm was in relationships, bankrupt. He dated a lot of stars. Hamm nearly went broke after he pulled out of the film Paradise Bar in 1996. He was sued by Lloyd's of London for $375,000. According to bankruptcy reports, when he filed, he owed the IRS $100,000. He had $100,000 in outstanding debts. His listed assets included $100 in cash, a red 1987 Alfa Romeo Spider featured in Corey Hamm, Me, Myself, and $750 worth of closing, a $31,000 pension fund, and royalty rights were $7,500. Anyways, his life came to a his life came to a tragic end on March 10th with drug abuse. It was the whole thing. He'd been in and out of rehabs about 11 times. Hamm never married, had any children. He was involved with Who's the Boss. He dated Alyssa Milano. That would drive you to doing drugs. Hamm was engaged to Nicole Eggert, a Baywatch chick. He was engaged to actress Holly Fields and model Cindy Geyer. Had a year-long relationship with Tiffany Shippas. He said the two were engaged and due to be married on March 9th. He was claimed he was sexually abused. And on March 10th, 2010, after Hamm's mother phoned 911, paramedics took Hamm from their home to Providence St. Joseph Medical Center in Burbank, where he was pronounced dead at 2:15 a.m. So March 10th, Corey Hamm died. Now, my person that was born on March 10th is infamous, not famous. He goes by the name of James Earl Ray. Do you know who James Earl Ray was?
A singer.
No. Ray was born on March 10th, 1928 in Alton, Illinois, the son of George Ellis Roy and Lucille Ray. Ray's father, known by the nickname of Great Dane, passed a bad check in Alton, Illinois, and then moved to Ewing, Missouri, where the family changed their name to Raines to avoid law enforcement. James Earl Ray was the oldest of 9 children. Ray committed a variety of crimes prior to the murder of, who do you think he killed? One of the most famous people in the country. Martin Luther the King.
James Earl Ray?
Yep. Ray's first conviction of criminal activity, a burglar in California, came in 1949. In 1952, he served 2 years by the armed robbery of a taxi driver in Illinois. In 1955, he was convicted of mail fraud after stealing money orders in Hannibal, Missouri. For this, he was imprisoned for 4 years in Leavenworth. He was caught stealing in an armed robbery of a Kroger store in St. Louis. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison for repeat offense. He escaped from the Missouri State Penitentiary in 1967 by hiding a truck transporting bread from the prison. This guy's got a hell of a story. So he escapes prison in 1967. Mm-hmm. He goes to Mexico, to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Oh, good place.
Orders online camera crew and starts filming pornography movies with local prostitutes in Puerto Vallarta. Fell in love, beat up a chick, left Mexico, and decided that he was going to he started attending local bartending school in Los Angeles. His chief interest was the George Wallace presidential campaign, and Ray was quickly drawn to Wallace's segregation platform, spending much of his time in Los Angeles volunteering at the Wallace campaign headquarters in North Hollywood. He considered immigrating to Rhodesia, where a predominantly white minority regime had unilaterally assumed independence from the UK. The notion of living in Rhodesia continued to appeal to Ray for several years. On March 5th, 1968, Roy had an operation on his nose performed by physician Russell Hadley. On March 18th, Roy left Los Angeles and began a cross-country drive to Atlanta, Georgia. Arriving in Atlanta on March 24th, Ray checked into a rooming house. He bought a map of the city. FBI agents later found this map where they searched the room. On the map, the locations of the church and residence of Martin Luther King Jr. He was going to his house to kill him. Decided that he found out he was going to be in Memphis. So he drove there. On March 30th, 1968, he bought a Remington Model 760 Game Master, a Redfield scope, and 20 cartridges. He told the store's owner he was going on a hunting trip with his brother. Ray had continued using the Galt. By this time, he was Ray Galt. But when he made this purchase, he gave his name as Harvey Lohmeyer. After purchasing the rifle and accessories, Ray drove back to Atlanta. An avid newspaper reader, Ray passed his time reading the Atlanta Constitution. This is when he found out that Dr. King was going to be in Memphis. So on April 4th, Ray rented a room in a rooming house across the street from the hotel. He subsequently locked himself in the bathroom and stood in the bathtub, opened the window, and fired a single shot at MLK from a Remington rifle with King was standing on the second floor balcony, shot and killed him. Now, then he fled Atlanta, ended up in Canada, arrived in Toronto, acquired a Canadian passport. Then he went to Portugal and returned to London. In London, he was caught and extradited back to the United States.
I didn't know he made it to London.
Yep. Now, here's the interesting. Yeah, he was arrested at Heathrow Airport.
Oh,
he was going to Brussels. Here's the interesting thing about this whole deal is there's a whole conspiracy theory that he didn't kill.
right.
That he was another MLK Ultra guy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, he took the fall for that. Later on, when he was in prison, he said he didn't do it. They think that and the King family doesn't think he did it. They think a Memphis detective shot him.
Huh.
But it was
I'd
all.
not heard that.
But anyways, the end result, MLK died.
Right.
And MLK has done a lot of good things, but he was undercover, was not a very clean person either.
Bit of a womanizer and a drug
Anyways,
user.
that is what happened on March 10th in the history of the United States.
Very good. Very good. All right, everybody, be safe. We love you. Watch for deer.